Welcome to Season 5 of the Founders Only podcast, where we uncover the pivotal trials and triumphs and the stories of great founders, delivering actionable advice on how to be the leader of the pack. Today, I am welcomed by my friend Farhad Khan. Farhad is CEO of Gripe Digital, who boasts over 15 years of experience in crafting impactful web experiences for member-based organizations. Through Gripe Digital and its innovative member lounge platform, Farhad assists associations in developing clear revenue strategies and engaging member experiences. His passion for membership growth strategy is matched only by his commitment to a balanced lifestyle, enjoying activities like yoga, running, and badminton in his free time. Welcome, Farhad.
Mia, Thank you so much for having me.
So welcome. Thanks for joining me. So we're going to start with, can you share your journey to becoming the founder of Gripe Digital with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a bit of a funny story, but I'll keep it short. So the way it started was a bit of an accident. So when I came to Canada as an international student, and then while I was doing my university and everything else, I was very savvy in technology and software. I'm a software engineer, so I'm good in tech and software engineering. So I kind of got myself in a mess when I finished my university here, and there was immigration delays to get my work permit, and I had a full-time job offer at Ericsson, but I couldn't join because of immigration delays. So that time I actually had to be hack my way to make my living because I had no money back then. And then I found out this immigration loophole that if I could work without a work permit, if I were a freelancer, if I just went to my school, university and worked out of the campus, there was that work permit back then. So I found that immigration loophole and I started kind of consulting, freelancing myself. And while I was in a financial mess, so necessity is the mother of invention. So that is my very first attempt at entrepreneurship here in Canada. And so then I paid my bills and then made a living for myself for a couple of months while I was doing that freelancing before I started my job. Then my work permit came in and then I started my fancy job at Ericsson. Now, funny thing is that was the beginning. And if I did not have that crisis at that point in time, I wouldn't know that I could be a freelancer. I could actually do this for a living on the side as well. And then eventually I had my corporate jobs, a number of high-tech companies here in Canada. I actually some of the largest companies in Ottawa here, tech companies where I worked at. And eventually at one point what happened is that I realized that whatever I was doing at my day job, I kept on longing for more. The work that I did not see the real impact of that to clients because I was not speaking to clients. I was like a nerdy developer coder. So I always longed for more. And that's when I realized, you know what, I have to do something on the side to kind of fill that void that I feel within myself. So I started a shop on the side. I will take on some software contracts and that became a full-time gig. And then I left my job. So I was moonlighting for a while before I left my job, but everything started with an accident for sure.
So how did you come to Member Lounge? How was that created?
Yeah, absolutely. So what happened is that I owned multiple companies over the last 12 years. And one of the companies that always stuck with me was Gripe Digital that I still run in general. And at Gripe Digital, what we have been doing is we were building a lot of membership websites for associations. And out of everything that we were doing, we found that the membership websites were something that we were really passionate about. And we were actually delivering a lot of value to our audience as well. And we were capturing a lot of value for our company at the same time. So, and then while we were doing that, we dug deep into that one niche as an agency, and something magical happened during the pandemic. So during the pandemic, there were a lot of associations who were trying to digitize themselves very, very quickly. And they came to us, we got a lot of repeat orders. And the moment that happened, I realized, oh my God, these people are coming to us for technology, but they have no idea about marketing. And they don't know marketing marketing automation. They don't know member engagement. So I started teaching people marketing, member engagement, many workshops. And while I was doing the workshops, at some point it clicked, you know what, everything that we were doing can be automated with AI and technology. Why do I have to teach these workshops? I can sell people a tool that can automate this. That's when we thought, let's build Member Lounge. And then we went through a number of different iterations of Member Lounge, and here we are. So the latest version of Member Lounge was launched last year. We are still iterating it. improving it. But I think like right now we have a very, very solid product that we're very
You
proud of.
launched Member Lounge last year? Okay, I didn't know
Yes.
that. That's amazing. Wow. You would have thought you were doing Member Lounge
Thank you.
3 years. I had no idea. That is awesome. So how has the growth been? What is the
The
trajectory
growth
of
has
growth
been
that you've seen over the past year?
Yeah, absolutely. So we launched the product early last year, and then we had a few virtual variations of like that we actually like launched at a with like closed beta or like with closed customers without actually going public altogether, because we knew that if the product wasn't ready for mass market. And then when we found out the product was ready and we were getting lots of interactions with clients and whatnot, that's when we thought, oh, you know what, let's release it now, even though it's not fully complete. Let's release and then see what we get. And we actually got tremendous traction in the last 1 year. So we have many associations that are using, some of the largest associations in Canada, medical associations that are this market is very difficult to break into. Healthcare is difficult, association market is also difficult. So given all the traction we had before, and plus my thought leadership in this space, and plus I actually have a podcast for member engagement as well, the Member Launch podcast. So through all the work that we have done, we are actually getting amazing traction. And what ended up happening is that we realized that there is so much potential in the Member Launch product that we need to make a very quick shift for the whole company to go all in on Member Launch. And our the internal means that we had, the funding and everything, like wouldn't get us there. So now we are there out in the market, like raising a round of external financing. So and there you go. So our fundraising journey, that's another saga, but even that is going well so far.
So how did you, since Member Lounge is so new and you have this, wealth of experience serving customers, right, and delivering digital solutions for customers, what was the approach that you all took to kind of determine what features the product needed to have in its first MVP, if you will, or the first version? How did you come to those decisions?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, what we actually did is that at the very early days when we built Member Launch, we were talking to clients and we were trying to understand what is it that they do, like really that actually moves the needle in the organization. So, so one thing that jumped out to us was that the one area where we could help them a lot, but also at the same time, like deliver and capture a lot of value was in the marketing automation piece. So there are many membership platforms out there. There are actually a lot of like something we call AMS, Association Management System. So there are many AMS solutions. There are many like membership platforms. But the one thing that none of them were doing really, really well was the member engagement marketing automation for association membership in general. So what we found is that, there are so many things that are very common on all of these platforms. So what if we took the most popular things, or we took the things that are very core to an association's operations for membership? So, and again, this is very, very simple. So like events, resources, and discussions, three things. So we took these three things onto our platform and we supercharged that with a lot of engagement like Facebook around it. And we put like an association spin on that. So as SaaS company owner, so like you're the owner of a SaaS company, the member engagement, user engagement best practices, but these ideas are very new to the association world. So we kind of like took the best practices from the rest of the market, like the for-profit world, and then we are bringing that to the non-profit sector for associations. But with the focus on anything that we do should drive member engagement. If it is not driving member engagement, then we will not do that feature
Really
in general.
great. So what are you using for tracking product development and new feature development? Are you using any tools to capture the feedback from your current customers in the association space to help them help you identify what those next feature sets need to be?
Yeah, absolutely. So during our onboarding process, and then as we work with clients, we actually hold regular meetings with our clients, because we are at the early stage where we are still iterating the product very, very quickly. The moment we hear that a client has a need in a certain area, we try to spin off a solution for that as quickly as possible. So whenever our customer success managers are talking to clients, we have a Trello board where we capture all the requirements. Anywhere someone hears, oh, a client said, well, I wish we had that, and then we dig deeper into that. Tell me more about it. How will that help you? What is your ideal solution? Then we do some brainstorming with the client, and then we bring that back to our product roadmap that we have on Trello, and then after that, what we try to find is that, of course, like there is the RICE metrics for SaaS companies, so RICE. So, but beyond RICE metrics, I think like it's a lot of an entrepreneur's like instinct, right? So, how much value does this one thing deliver, not just to us but for the client? So sometimes what might happen is that a tiny feature, and the feature does not have a broad reach. The feature may be very simple, but the stakeholder for the feature is very important. So maybe the executive director himself or herself wants that one feature, and that one feature, one person is very, very important. So then we find out how much impact that feature will actually be for the members, for the staff, or for the audience, and then we go ahead and implement that. But at least like there has to be something that any new product gets into this loop, that we end up building anything and everything for everyone, and then as a result your like product becomes a mishmash of everything. So we have at least like one like gatekeeping here, that we talk to a second association, a second client, whether they have the same need, just to see whether it's a one-off customization or is it a broad market need. And then we talk to a second client, and then we also think, is there a third client who might be able to use this in the future? We won't talk to them, but hypothetically, like, is there one? So once we get that confirmation from 3 potential clients, that's when we say, it's a go, let's implement this feature. Now, also at the same time, I guess, while we're talking about that, we have to talk a bit about product market fit, right? So and maybe I'm jumping ahead. I think you're going to ask me about this as well, but let's talk about this now. So as entrepreneurs and founders, we always want to make sure that our product is the best in the market, and we have that like ideal product market fit, that there is a gap in the market, and then we are actually filling that gap with our product. What we realized over the last couple of years is that when we started the member launch project at the very, very beginning, the market was at a certain state, and when we actually came close to that market need that we had, the market shifted. AI came along, and then other things came along, right? So what I'm realizing is that the market constantly shifts every year over year, and sometimes even faster, like multiple times in the same year, like blockchain, for one example. So the product market fit may seem a bit elusive, but we have to keep in mind is that the market is always shifting. So you will never get to a product market fit, a PMF, and then be there and be like, and then just like stay there. You have to keep evolving all the time, and know, kind of like try and guess like where is the market going next year, and then try and be out there a little ahead of time, at least with R&D, with your resources, with your staffing, so that you are not like left behind.
Makes sense. So let's talk more about Farhad. So who were you before you became an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so before becoming an entrepreneur, I guess I was a software engineer for sure, but then like I really enjoyed problem solving. So anytime, whenever I was at my day job, I was working at Ericsson was my last job, I think. So when I was working at Ericsson, what ended up happening is that anytime I got a fascinating problem, I used to tell my manager, give me the hardest problems, give me the difficult ones. And whenever I saw that I could solve a very complex problem and bring a lot of value to our users and our team, that fascinated me. And I am an engineer, so I'm a builder, by nature. That's why I got into engineering. But building a software and then seeing that software delivering value to our audience day in, day out was fascinating for me. So I think that was a passion that I had all the time. So I was an engineer before I became an entrepreneur. But then what I realized is that I wanted to push myself even beyond. So I thought, okay, can I do beyond software? And if I could, then what would I do? That's when the entrepreneurship actually came along.
Let's go back even further. Before college, who was Farhad?
So before college, I guess this is actually interesting. I'm happy you're asking me this. So I was always an electronics and computer like tinkerer long back, right? So I remember that when I was in grade 10, I even like I had a passion for technology my entire life. So when I was in grade 10, I used to work with like those remote control cars and then walkie talkies and whatnot. So when I was in grade 10, I realized that I was able to like modify a walkie talkie to control a remote control car, because I realized that they share common radio frequencies and something that is in common. I knew nothing about radio frequencies back then. Nothing about the technology, but I figured out, there is a hack here. I could probably jig this to do that. So later on, when I realized, so 5-6 years fast forward, when I go back and think, oh my god, I did that in grade 10. I had no idea of electronics and whatnot. So yeah, like I actually got fascinated myself thinking about that.
So where were you born and raised?
I was born in Bangladesh. So Bangladesh is a country right beside India, if you're not familiar with that. So I grew up in Bangladesh. I was there. I did my O levels and A levels, and I came to Canada to go to university
And
in Ottawa.
what was it like growing up in Bangladesh? What did your parents do for a living?
So my entire family works in the government. So they were in like government positions, like so high government officials. So I had a bit of a, I think, like if you think of in the family background, I had a bit of a slow family life because they all work in the government, like less exciting in general. And then my family was very literary minded as well. They would write poems and sing and music and whatnot. And I am nowhere close to any of that. So I am like the bad apple in the family, didn't go to government, like doesn't do any art, no music whatsoever. And then I'm all into like tech and hard tech. So
And
yeah.
did you have siblings?
Yeah, I do. So I have a elder brother and an elder sister.
And what about hobbies what other hobbies did you have before you started tinkering with radio frequencies?
Yeah, so I actually had like so many hobbies, right? So, but in general, something that I would. So first of all, badminton is something I played for a very long time, and badminton is a very popular sport in the East in Bangladesh as well. So I used to regularly play competitive like badminton and whatnot. So I've been doing that for a long time. Also, at the same time, I guess my primary hobby has always been around electronics. I was always playing with electronics. That was something that made me happy when I was a kid. So yeah, so that was there for sure. Also at the same time, I guess I enjoyed hanging out with friends, listening to music when I was a child. So yeah, mostly that. And I truly enjoy photography. So I still do a lot of photography myself. And what's funny is that I just went to a big summit this week, and I was carrying my professional camera when I was at a professional event meeting people, and I was actually taking pictures. And they're saying, you know what, like, you're not the photographer, no one is paying you for doing this, why are you taking pictures? I'm like, just for the fun. I love taking pictures of people and sending them as a surprise.
I didn't know that. Okay. So when you mentioned earlier that you came upon starting your first business out of necessity, right? Because you had to make some money quickly to kind of make it through school and find some income. So if you wouldn't have had that happen, you believe you would have never started a business at all?
Yeah, so I think I would have started a business. I would have eventually gotten to that position in like through another path. But I think the fact that I had that hard need back then, and I had to work through the immigration system, find an immigration loophole, and then go through that hard time, that kind of accelerated my journey to entrepreneurship. And even then, I guess like when I graduated from university, and when I like I was an immigrant for sure, and any immigrant coming to a new country is insecure. The culture is new, everything is new, language is new. Language was like less of a factor because I learned English my entire life. But then like the culture was new. I had zero connections when I came here. So back in Bangladesh, both my parents being in the government, we were like highly connected. Like I came from like anywhere I wanted to do something, I could get done just by making a phone call to someone. Coming from that environment and then coming to Canada, having zero connections, I felt like I'm in an isolated island. I had no one. But then also at the same time, it occurred to me that you know what, you actually have a like white canvas in front of you. You can paint it the way you want. So that's when I realized, you know what, I'm going to pick my friends. Every single friend that I pick will be the ones that I want to hang out with. Every single thing that I do, I have no baggage, I have no relatives, no nothing. I'm going to like build my future the way I want moving forward. And I think like when I did that, I kind of like over-engineered things a little. It didn't go the way that I wanted. Sometimes you have to like let serendipity just happen and luck take its course. So yeah. So again, that's another takeaway, I guess. Like, do not over-engineer. Sometimes like let luck just happen.
Sure. So, what's your superpower, Farhad?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that because I always believe that every person in this world has a superpower, and as long as you're working and like focusing on your superpower in your day work and day job, you can actually get the maximum outcome from everything that you do. And if you're always working in your superpower, then something tremendous happens and you unlock something amazing in your life in general. And I believe that there are two kinds of superpowers. One is a professional superpower, and the second is a personal superpower. So I'll talk about my professional superpower in this case because it's a business podcast. So I think my professional superpower is like being at the intersection of technology and business. So since I've been in the technology world for a very long time, I can look at a business problem and I can very quickly find a technology solution to that. And as I talk to clients, I talk to people, I find that many times a lot of my clients are not technical in general. And when I talk to them and they tell me, you know what, we have this problem, and I can dream of a solution, and then I can tell my team, you know what, this is doable. Please implement this. So I found that like making that connection, connecting the dots between a big business gap and a technology solution to that business gap is like dwelling in that little thin zone is my superpower. Whenever I try to deviate away from that, I find that I can still perform, I can do well, but if I stay in that zone, then I can deliver and capture the most value for myself and for the company. And I enjoy
I
this as well.
definitely want to hear your personal superpower.
So I would say my personal superpower is I think I'm a very polite person in general. So when I talk to someone, or whenever actually I'm like in any like hang out with friends or anywhere, I think I can get along with people really, really easily. And I think I have a very easygoing personality as well. So I don't impose too much on people. I am like very laid back, I have a very laid back attitude and everything. And then since I have that laid back approach, people kind of like open up to me and talk to me. They are comfortable talking to me as a result, because they think that I can be the trusted person they can talk to and open up. And just by doing that, I find it's very easy for me to make friends with a lot of people in general. So I would say that is my personal superpower.
I think aligned with that, you have the ability to help people feel comfortable around you. Yeah,
I think so.
I definitely agree with that. So how do you approach building your personal brand while also growing the business brand for Gripe and Member Lounge?
Oh my God. I think that is $1 million question for any CEO or a founder for the business. So, but like, to be honest, I realized this many, many years ago that since we are so busy building the business and building our product and everything, that I will have almost zero time to build my personal brand. For sure. I knew that many years ago. And I was thinking, what can I do to kind of do both at the same time? That's when I realized, you know what? I have to make it part of my daily routine. It has to be a project, something that I start that actually bolsters my personal brand, but gives back to the business at the same time. So that's when we actually launched my own podcast, the Member Launch podcast. The podcast has been out, I think, like for 3+ years now. So what I realized is that I could use my podcast to be the medium for me to share my ideas, my opinions, while also helping a lot of my clients at the same time. And since the podcast is public and live and it has to happen all the time, I cannot walk away from it. There is something scheduled all the time. I have to work on my personal brand while I'm working on the company as well. So I would say my podcast has been the biggest driver of my personal brand, and I did not even realize how big of a deal it was until we launched Member Lounge, and I saw like clients just like start to flow in, because the Member Lounge was new, the product was new, everything is new. But since they have been listening to me in my podcast, like I've been speaking to their ears for a very long time, so the conversion from being a lurker on my audience to becoming a customer was not too difficult.
So the podcast has been called Member Lounge since before you created the Member Lounge platform.
Absolutely. So we have been dabbling at it like for some time, and then I made a LinkedIn post, I think a couple of days back, where I was showing like the tree of all the naming options that we had. We had like a Miro board with all the naming options, and then there was one highlighted as like Member Launch. Oh, you know what? We want this name, and we wanted to make sure that our previous company name Gripe was like a not very brand, not very related to our brand, because it was supposed to do something different. The original idea of the company was something different, and then when we came to working with associations, the name Gripe had nothing to do with memberships or associations whatsoever. So I felt the disconnect for a very long time. So when it came time for rebranding, I was thinking, what can we do that is very much related? So then the name Member Launch came to being. I find that the Member Launch is a very memorable, very easygoing name, and people connect to it like very, very easily, and it's very simple as well. People come to a platform, they say, oh, you know what, we want a member launch for our membership. I'm like, there you go, use our product, member launch. But we didn't know which direction the member launch product would go. So had the product gone in a different direction, the name probably would have
Okay.
changed.
So since you are an OG in the podcast space, I have a question for you. What are some of the learnings that you've accumulated over the past 3 years? Let's go with one or two tips. Something you've learned in the process of this podcast that you've adjusted your strategy or some tactic around the podcast itself to increase your awareness and visibility. What are some things you could tell us?
Yeah, for sure. So I had many lessons learned, but I think I'll focus on top two that I learned. Number one, when I was inviting my podcast guests, I wanted to make sure that I invite someone very high profile who has a huge following in my network, in my clientele in general, and then the person can actually bring a lot of value to my podcast in general. So if every single time I did an episode where I did not do that, the episode wasn't that great. I wasn't able to learn, and I was the one who was able to I was the one who was talking most of the time, and the guest was mostly quiet or maybe didn't bring a lot of value in general. So I wanted to make sure that I speak to someone who's very insightful and has a huge following on some medium, be it Twitter, be it LinkedIn or Instagram, somewhere that person actually has a huge following, and that person can actually bring more people to my network as well. So this was one finding for sure. And we did a few recordings with potential clients, and those did not go very well because the potential client, we thought, oh, you know what, if we invite this big client and they speak on my podcast, and then they'll probably become a client, right? But then that did not work out well because the client did not have great insights in the space, because the client is a client and is not a thought leader in that particular space. So I think number one would be that. So inviting someone high profile or someone who has a huge following in a niche area that we want to talk about, that's number one. Number two, I think this is mind blowing. So at the beginning, all of our podcasts were recorded offline. And then at one point, I realized that, you know what, we don't actually have a lot of time and money to do a lot of marketing. What can we do within our reach, whatever we are doing right now, to maximize the reach? So then I thought, you know what, why don't we turn our podcasts into a live event where audience, our potential clients can actually come and register and then sit there as well at the same time. The moment we started doing that, it exploded once again, because what ended up happening is that there were many people who would want to speak to that thought leader and they are not able to get hold of him, but they can come to my podcast, and through my podcast they can talk to them live, either through the chat, or I invite them to say, you know what, come on mic and ask the question. So that way they can talk to me, they can talk to the guest as well. And what we do before and after the podcast, me and the other thought leader on my podcast, we both co-promote the episode before and after. So the marketing happens at multiple stages. Even before the event, we do a round of marketing because we are promoting the event, right? And then after the event, we do another set of marketing, co-marketing, me and the podcast guest, when the final episode is actually released. So that way we do one event, but we have so many different marketing touch points from the same one recording that we do. So these two were the biggest
Definitely
things,
love
I think.
that. Okay, golden nugget, you guys. So, what strategies and tactics have you found most effective in keeping members engaged and not churning with an association or organization?
Oh my God, many. But out of them, I think if there are a few things that I want to highlight. So I think in any SaaS company or any member engagement campaign that you take on, I think the magic word nowadays is personalization, right? So you have to make sure that any content or anything that you're delivering to your audience is hyper personalized, and you have to find platforms or technologies that can actually do that for you. If you cannot personalize for your members, then you're missing out on a huge opportunity here. And there are many easy, simple tools that you can use to personalize the content for your members. So personalization is a very important thing nowadays. And then the second thing that we did is that what we do for our associations, for our clients on our platform, is that our clients actually have years and years of high value content that is sitting idle on their repository somewhere, because associations, they have been there for some some for 100 years. They have very good paper, they have very good materials, but they don't know how to market them well. So what we do on our platform is we take their content and we supercharge them with campaigns around that automatically on our platform. We send summaries to the members, and so association will just like drop the piece of content and we do the marketing for them. So this marketing automation has been like a game changer for us. So when I talk to some of our clients and tell them, what, like tell what was the aha moment, they were like, oh, like I just dropped this thing there and members immediately know that this is there, and on the timeline they see it right at the top, like Facebook, and then anyone who's trying to find it, like it's right there, they also get an email about it. So that has been great. But also at the same time, when we were building Member Lounge, we try to follow what the different social media platforms were doing, right? And we didn't try to reinvent the wheel. We tried to give people a familiar experience, similar experience when they come to our platform, but in an association, put an association spin to it. So, and what that means is that every single time whenever a member logs in, they have to see something new. And if there is nothing new, we have to manufacture some new in there. So when you log into Facebook and LinkedIn, I don't know if you realize that even though there's no new content posted on your timeline now by anyone in your network, they will push something new and they manufacture the new for you. And every single time you see that newness, that gets you hooked and you keep coming back. So we did not realize that, but then like the moment we saw, oh, what, the newness is driving people. So every single time people are coming there, there's something new. But you know what, there isn't new content all the time. So what do we do? You have to manufacture it to drive the engagement, of course in a meaningful way, not in a sleazy way, for sure. But then like if we can do that, manufacture that new all the time, that drove a lot of like member engagement overall. And the last thing that we found is that showing lots of related content. And this is again, this idea, we actually got the idea from one of our news clients. So we actually built one of the largest news websites here in Canada. And when we were working with the news client, they were saying, hey, you know what, whenever we show this news, always show related content so that people can click, and and you want to draw people down into that like clickbait rabbit hole. I'm like, okay, this is so sleazy, this is so bad. But then when we were building Memberlog, I was like, oh, you know what, no, I have to do this. So that way a member actually gets value with related content. And we as the content provider, we never give up. We keep throwing new thing to member. It's the member who has to give up, because guess what, if you are on a website page and you're scrolling down at the bottom of the page, if say you're at the end of the content, at the bottom of the page, if there's no button, no call to action, there's no related link, people have nothing to click, so they will leave from there. The moment you put a link or a button there, people will be motivated to click and do something more. But no button, no click, no link, no click whatsoever. So this was another like revelation that we had that actually drives a lot of member engagement.
I love that.
On our
yes,
platform.
That call to action is key, you guys. You got to keep them on the site and keep the site sticky. So I actually wanted to backtrack. I forgot to ask a question when we were talking about the podcasting. So have you experienced, since you are bringing, I'm assuming that all of your content includes a guest, or do you also alternate between having a guest and doing like a one person podcast? Do you do both, or do you just have a guest?
Yeah, so usually we always have a guest. That's where we actually found that we actually get the best traction. But what happens every quarter or every 4 months is that we find that there were so every single time when we actually have a podcast, we let people sign up to the live event, and we also ask them, let them ask a question. That is a required field on the registration page. You have to ask a question, if you are to join, they ask a question, and then over the years we actually gather like thousands and thousands of questions, and we find that every couple of months, 4-5 months, we find this huge pool of questions that always goes unanswered. So when that happens, we actually get that back from our database, and then we do an Ask Me Anything podcast, just me alone and with a coworker, and then the coworker will be the host in that case. I will be the guest, and I will be the one answering the questions. But we sometimes do this like our internal podcast where we would do an Ask Me Anything and then recycle the questions that, sorry, not recycle, but answer the questions that haven't been answered in a long time.
That is another golden nugget, you guys. That's a golden nugget for sure. Wow. Okay, I love that. So you answered my question before I finished my question, and you yes. So the question was going to be for everybody else, how do you continue to establish yourself as a thought leader if your podcast is focused on is pure interview style. And so that is a great tip that Farhad just gave us on how we can continue to establish our own selves, our personal brand as a thought leader while having an interview style podcast. So that's fantastic. I love it. So, how do you know you found product market fit?
Yeah, so that's another elusive question, I guess, an elusive target that I don't think any company ever truly knows that they have reached product market fit. And then I think like it's so like when you go hiking at the bottom of at the footle of the mountain, you see the first peak, and then from the bottom you only see the first peak. When you go to the first peak, you see, oh my god, there's another peak in front of me. So I think product market fit is very much like that. So from one stage you get to the next stage, and once you before you get there, it's very difficult to see beyond the first peak, but you have to get there, or you have to like do some experimentation to kind of like get there first. So I see product market fit to be more like these peaks of mountains, right? So from a status, a position that you're at right now, you only see the first peak, and then you have to make sure that you're building your product and everything to get to that point. And once you get there, you have to keep on iterating. But one thing that that we should always focus on is that we need to make sure the different parts of our product are used by our clients. If they're not using different parts, if there are certain areas that are never clicked, that are never used, then you know that this is not sticky for your audience. So then maybe do not invest too much on that. And for that, you need very good analytics in general. And along with that, I guess whenever you're finding opportunities, so say those opportunities, new features come to us in two different ways. So one will be a client telling us, hey guys, we need this, and then we will take it to a few more and then see more people need that. That's one way. The second way is that two clients, three clients told us something, we take the idea in, and then we say, you know what, people are trying to solve this common problem, can we do something to solve it for them? So this is completely like entrepreneurial instinct, and then creating the solution on our own, because our clients will never know what was possible with the technology. So that's why we have to take the problems and then see if we can combine a set of problems that come up with a feature that will actually help a lot of our clients together. So and I think it's an ongoing journey. Product market fit never happens. So it's like you never get to a point that you finish your product. Never. So there's always a roadmap, and you're always catching up. Our product roadmap keeps piling up. We keep adding more and more. But one thing that is very important, and we follow the agile methodology for sure, that at any point in time we always work on the most important features. And as long as we are always working on the most important feature that deliver the most impact for our clients and our audience, that's when I know that we are working towards the right product market fit. Now, while we're doing that, I think like it's also very important to understand that your product roadmap list, this will be a never ending list. So if you do not have a never ending list, you're not thinking enough, you're not researching enough. Your list has to grow beyond control. When you're doing that, that's when you know you're iterating enough. So our list is beyond control right now, but then we know that, you know what, these are the top 5 things that we have to work on for the next quarter, and that's how we deliver the most value for our clients.
I agree. How do you, so let's pretend that I am a friend who has a newish SaaS company, and we're at dinner, and as someone with the experience that you have, I say, Farhad, how can I figure out whether or not I have found product market fit and make a decision on whether or not I should continue to pursue developing this product? So what I'm looking for in your answer is actually, how do I know I haven't found product market fit?
Have not, right? Yeah. So I think in general, if you have a solution, a SaaS solution product or something, and then you're not able to like find a few set of people who will kill to get your product, you know, and then like if you haven't found a few people who truly need your product, and then once you have installed your product onto their system, onto their company, you cannot rip it out. You know, the moment you rip out the product, they will be kicking and screaming. The moment you have that like kicking and screaming situation, you know that you have actually found a true problem that you can like deliver value with. Now, again, like when we're talking about product market fit, I think like this is again a continuum, right? So there are 3 main stages that you usually get to with product market fit. The first one is a hair on fire problem, right? And I think this was published by one of the venture capital firms like Sequoia Capital. There's a very good blog article I can share with you. So they actually shared this in a very in a very nice and simple way. So the number one problem will be a hair on fire problem, right? So it's a urgent need. People are like dying for it, and then that's why like you build the product, and then you launch. But also at the same time, if it's a hair on fire problem, then there's a lot of competition as well, because everyone knows it's a hair on fire problem. So there's a huge competition there. Like, how many marketing CRMs are there? How many mailing list solutions are there? Because it's a hair on fire problem, right? And then the next stage of the product market fit is a hard problem that people needs to solve. So it's a hard problem, not hair on fire, but it's a hard one, and people have probably like grown to be okay with it. They know it's hard, they know it's difficult, but they don't want to invest. That's why they are not solving it. But it's a hard problem you're solving. Then it's a matter of like telling them, hey, you know what? It's a hard problem, but we have an easy solution. Use our app. The hardness goes away. We make it easy for you. So that's like the second stage. So it's better to kind of like be on the second stage than on a hair on fire problem, even though people will tell you, is it a painkiller? Whenever you're building a painkiller, there's huge competition there as well at the same time, right? So I think in general, I think it depends which market you're in. So if it's a hair on fire problem in a market where there's no competition, then you have like found
Yes.
like a magical solution there. But yeah. So but nowadays that doesn't happen anymore. So it's very unlikely you'll actually find a segment where there's a hair on fire problem that doesn't have a solution and you are unique, right? But if that happens, we call it a blue ocean, right? So that's when you find a blue ocean that there's no market there. Sorry, no competition there. So we talked about two. Number one, the hair on fire problem. The second one being a hard problem, and the third one is a future vision, right? So no one knows this exists, right? But your product, your solution creates a market in the future. This is an example of the iPhone. This is the example of the iPhone App Store. This is Airbnb. This is Uber. So when you find something like that, it's so niche that the market does not exist right now. Everyone will tell you that you are wrong. You are crazy, right? But it's the crazy people who actually make change happen in the world in general. So if you're in that future improvement, that if you're in that like segment at the lower tier, it's the hardest. No one will fund you. No one will give you money for that. It's very difficult to sell the idea. But if you truly understand your clients, if you know your vision, then it is possible. And this is when you actually get you build the unicorns. So there are a number of like companies around me here in Ottawa, like people I know who have actually built unicorns from like from within my network, and I have seen how they have gotten there. And we're trying to follow their footprints in general right now. I don't know whether we will get there. I think we are like on the right direction right now. But yeah, so product market fit I think usually has like 3 different stages, and you have to understand which stage you are at right now and address your marketing and everything accordingly. If it is a hair on fire problem, and if you're so if the problem and solution is a hair on fire problem and solution, but you're selling a future vision, it's
It's
the
a
wrong
what?
marketing tactic, right? So you have to
Okay.
it's the wrong marketing tactic, right? So the marketing tactic, your positioning has to change based on which segment you're at.
I love it. I love that. I need that article. Yes, I need that article. I would love to read that. What is your process for defining a product roadmap?
Yeah, so what we do is that we actually have like a common area. So it starts with a Slack channel, right? So whenever there's an idea, we don't want to put barriers in front of people to kind of like go there, enter it like a big process and whatnot, right? We have a Slack channel where we just discuss ideas on the product, and like, hey, someone has an idea, just drop a comment there. And frequently, what we do, me and the product lead and other people in my team, we have like a short roadmap meeting every week, and in that meeting we look at the ideas, what is possible, and then what will actually get us the most traction. And we let everything we let everything in on the Slack channel. But from the Slack channel, we take a few things onto our Trello board, which is the true product roadmap. So then so we have one layer of filtering right at the very beginning. So Slack channel, then to the Trello board, and then on the Trello board there are like 3 kinds of things that we usually work on. So we have things that we're actively working on right now. So so some are ongoing, some are already on Jira. Someone is like working on it in some way, research or implementation. And then beyond that, we have those active features. Then we have the roadmap features. Roadmap features are things that we will implement maybe in the next 1 quarter. So that's on the roadmap. And then we have the wish list. So the wish list items are nice to have, and we will probably get to that at some point in time. Oh, sorry, we have one more. We have a parking lot. So the last one is a parking lot. So we know it's a great idea, but we will probably not work on it until something changes in the industry or in the business. So for those ideas, we put them in the parking lot, and then we see, oh, you know what, is anyone asking about this? Then we search. Yeah, so there was an idea on the parking lot, and the client is asking for it. So we pull it out and see if anyone is looking for it. So this is how we usually like manage our
What
product
did you
roadmap.
say was the second category? You said the first one was actively working on, the last one was
Yeah,
parking lot.
actively. Yeah, so at the first one is like active one. The second one, we actually call it the product roadmap. So we call that a roadmap, you know. So the name of the column is roadmap, meaning a feature is there, it will be worked on. So the moment a feature gets into the roadmap, that column means our developer team can pull things from there for implementation. Until something gets into the roadmap column, people do not have
Got
the
it.
approval to actually work on them. So we created that system, right? That, you know what, so the like senior leadership can actually talk between ourselves and drop something on the bucket on that column, and people can actually
So,
start working on
do
it.
you happen to have an automation in place then from going to the Slack channel to the backlog or to the future? What did you call it? Um, the wish list. Yeah.
The
Do
wish
you
list.
automatically have that
Yeah.
those requests automatically going there? Okay. Okay. So it's manually moved. Somebody's
No,
moving.
no,
Okay.
it's manually. Yeah. Yeah, and it's manually moved on purpose because we want to have like a gatekeeping there. We want to have a filter, so we let anything come into the Slack channel because we want to get the ideas as quickly as possible without any barriers between the team members. But from the idea to implementation, because implementation is very expensive, development time is very expensive nowadays. So that's why we have a gatekeeping there. That not we won't let any idea pass. We will do a bit of filtering and then only work on the most
So,
important ideas.
perfect segue to my second part of this question. So now you have a backlog, I'm sorry, a roadmap section, right? And then the actively working on is already in development. So for the roadmap section, how do you prioritize what to work on next? You mentioned earlier that you have I forgot what you call it, but basically you require that at least 3 of your clients have requested a product before it moves from roadmap to actively working on, right? Or how do you
Yeah,
prioritize?
yeah,
Let's say
exactly,
you've got
exactly. So
3
the
things
three,
on your
so
roadmap category and 5 people have requested all 3. How do you pick which one you're working on?
yeah, so oftentimes we have a squeaky wheel. So there's a client who's kind of like, like yelling and then calling us for that one feature, like, guys, like, you have to do it. And then sometimes we actually tell the client, hey, you know what, like, we can do it early for you, but this is going to like push other things down the like roadmap for us. So are you willing to pay a premium for this? Maybe like help us fund the feature. That way we can release it to you sooner. And oftentimes the client's problem is big enough that they will fund the feature partially, and that way we actually give them that feature sooner rather than later. So that's one tech that we have used. But also at the same time, I guess there are 2 other things that we look at in general. So will it have like a viral effect on the client's member engagement? So if it is not a urgent need from a client and we are like discussing internally and trying to prioritize, then 2 things there. Number 1, will this feature have a viral impact on the client's member engagement? That's number 1. And number 2, if we implemented this feature, will it actually have a viral impact on our sales and marketing? So how does it help us grow? How does it help our own audience grow? So when these 2 things are ticked, or one or the other is ticked, that's when we know, this feature is definitely going to be worked on immediately. And everything else, we actually follow the RISE metrics. So RISE is risk, impact, cost, confidence,
Is it effect?
and I forgot the last E. Anyways, yeah, effect,
Yes.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. So I think you've answered my next question already. So how do you approach discovery during the onboarding process or pre-sales? What if you have anything to share there to personalize the platform for the user's needs and activate them faster?
Yeah, that's a great question, to be honest. And I think discovery is so important. If you're not doing ongoing discovery for your product with your clients all the time, you're really missing out on this. So we do discovery in 2 different ways. So number 1, whenever we are in a sales call with any client, we try to understand what their challenges are, and be like, so we don't try to push the solution to anyone in general. We understand, okay, what are your biggest problems, and then like from there we give them the solutions. So during the discovery process in the sales call, now so I'm doing founder led sales right now. So I have an associate who will kind of like book the meetings, but then like eventually the meeting falls on my lap, and then I try to close the deal. So there, anytime we find a new feature idea that goes back to our like wish list roadmap, if you don't have it already, that's one way for sure. So it's an ongoing discovery through sales all the time. There is a never ending cycle, always happens. Another thing we started doing recently, we should have done it way sooner, is that we are having ongoing conversation with our clients every couple of months. So I think like we did this after 6 months now with some clients. So we're trying to find out. We call the client and we understand. Okay, hey, you know what? When you started using Member Launch, what was the aha moment that you felt? That, oh my god, this is game changing. So what was that aha moment for you? And then also, how long did it take you to get there? Like how many days, months, or something? So, and this is mind blowing. We are working on crazy complex features. We think this will give us a lot of value, and we do this discovery call with the client. So, what was your aha moment? And they talk about something super simple that we didn't even think about. Oh my god, like this was such a game changer. So once we started doing this calls, and then I am doing the calls myself right now, because I think I want to know. We are bringing on another. I think we will be bringing on a CTO very soon. I am the CTO CEO in the company de facto right now, but with the product is getting so complex that we need a CTO right now. So eventually, I think our CTO and other team members will take over this role. But right now, I'm doing the calls with clients in between. So every like 4, 5, 6 months, that what was your aha moment, and then how long did it take you to get there, and also like what is it in your onboarding process that takes you the most time, that is the most painful. And again, the client told us something super dumb, but I didn't even realize that this was taking them so much time, because it was easy for us, but for them it was super complicated. Now I'm thinking, you know what, you have to automate this piece. And then again, by the way, we are working on these crazy difficult things that no one cares about. What the hell?
That's the way it goes, right? Until you start having that feedback loop to it. That's the way it goes. You work on what you think you should work on instead of what the customer wants you to work on, right? I want to explore a little bit more about this, just a little bit. So I know you are a sales wizard, and you probably wouldn't call yourself that, but I know you are. So what are the first few questions that you ask? You don't have to give too many, but what are some of the first questions you ask to determine whether you're on the phone with the best fit customer?
Yeah, so I think two things that I see, I try to find as quickly as possible. So when I ask the client, like, so can you tell me what are your biggest membership opportunities right now? And then do they have a clear picture of what problem they're trying to solve? So if they do not have a clear picture themselves, it's not my business to tell them that you have a big problem, and then like the barrier to climb is too high at that point in time, because they don't even know that they have a very complex problem and they're not motivated to solve it themselves. So that's one, that when I ask them what are some biggest opportunities with your membership right now, if they cannot articulate that really well, or maybe some people know it, they don't know how to put it in words, then I help them. That's fine, right? But too many people will not even know, and then I know that they're not serious about this problem, and I will not pursue this client too much. That's number one. Number two, I guess, like, I look at a lot of body language, like see what, like, how excited they are when they talk about this opportunity, how passionate they are. Are they super passionate to solve this? Are they really like motivated? Will they actually take action, or are they just kicking the tires and they just want to see what's out there? So I think these two are like very important. So the moment I see that if both of these are not there, so someone truly doesn't know what the problem is and they're not passionate to solve the problem, what, like, we don't even need to book the next call. We know for sure already, right? But so these are two, but also at the same time, I guess, you have to have that like band alignment. So budget, authority, need, timeline. So if the client does not have that band alignment, and we try to like get a sense of that very quickly, as early as we can. And so what's funny here is that most of our clients will actually not have the right timeline aligned with us, because associations actually, they work on a budget cycle. Decisions happen like every quarter. So no matter how much I try to push, they will not buy until the next budget cycle when it's passed. So we need to make sure that we align ourselves, our process, with their budget cycle. So on our CRM pipeline, everywhere, we actually have buckets, that, oh, you know what, this client said they'll be ready at this point. So when the time is right, we reach out to them and they think, oh, you know what, these guys remembered me. They're so nice, and we're so important to them, and they'll actually talk to us. So this
I
is what we
love that.
typically do.
I really like that last part about grouping your pipeline into when you need to follow up with them. That's another gold nugget, you guys. Okay. So, one more question about this budget. Budget is, the first part of BANT, right? But I find that it's sometimes asked a little bit later in the conversation because a lot of people, when you start asking them, what's your budget? Or how do you have that conversation? How and when do you broach that budget conversation?
Yeah. So I think you can typically you cannot ask anyone what is your budget because it may be offending to some people that oh, you're saying we don't have the budget or you don't know. So I think this is a very slippery slope if you ask someone what your budget is directly. But you can get some sense that, oh, you know what, I'm talking to an association that has only one executive director and the person is alone. Then that person actually has a smaller budget compared to a team of 20. And the team of 20 has a different budget compared to a team of 40, right? So I start by asking how many people works in your membership marketing or member support, and then say this many, and then I ask them, okay, so how many people do you have in the team altogether? They say, oh, we have 20. That's when I can sense that they actually have the budget in general. So I don't ask it directly. It's we have to kind of like get it through osmosis by asking other questions, right? But then also at the same time, I guess this is a very important question you asked, Mia, and I want to dig deeper into this slightly. So we were of the mindset before that there are certain clients we do not want to serve because they are too small and they're not worth our time. But as we are building a company in the venture track. We want to grow to $100 million at some point in time, sooner. So the moment we actually go on the venture track, we realize that in order to capture a big part of the market, we cannot just sell to a certain group of clients. We have to broaden our market overall. So we have to capture the bigger clients. We also have to capture the smaller clients. And unless our pricing structure and everything, the sales process and the whole sales pipeline marketing is designed to cater to the broader audience, we will not get there. So we recently restructured our pricing completely so that the smaller clients actually have a very easy entry point, and then they can stay at the entry point for a long time. And it's better to for us to serve them, get some money from them, give them value, as opposed to not serving at all, right? And then, but make the pricing such that a bigger association with more members and whatnot, they actually have to pay us more by the number of members, maybe by the number of features or something else, number of employees who are actually using our platform. So the moment we actually added that metered pricing, a new frontier opened up in front of us. Now we say, oh, you know what? The clients that we were turning away before, now we can also work with them. And this is mind blowing.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so as far as adjusting you mentioned that you not only need to consider how to augment your pricing strategy, but also the sales process. So have you adjusted your sales process to require less resources, time or staff resources on your end to sell to the smaller customer? In other words, are you using an on-demand demo? What are you doing for the smaller customer to reduce your own resource outlay to capture that part of the market?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're doing is that we actually published a demo video on our website. It's I think 10-12 minute demo video. And then what we do is that even before sometimes we get on the first call, we send them a link and they will know that there's a demo they will watch, and then they will self-filter themselves that if this is not the right fit, then they will probably not even come to us. But having the demo video, so it's not an explainer video, it's beyond. So there's an explainer video on the homepage, but there's also a demo video at the same time, right? So I find that a lot of people who are actually with the demo video up on the site right now, it wasn't there before. It wasn't there 6-7 months ago. It's there now. So now whenever actually comes to us in the meeting, I think 70-80% of the people who actually speak to in a meeting has already seen our demo video. They actually already know a lot about it, and now it's a matter of closing or maybe getting to the next stage. So this is what we're doing right now to serve the smaller clients in general. But I think we have to do a lot more, as in on-demand demo, on PLG, product-led growth. This is the next step on our on our journey in general. We haven't unlocked product-led growth fully yet. So this is what we're trying to do next.
Awesome. What is one book, podcast, or resource that has profoundly impacted your perspective and mindset as a founder? And by the way, this is the hardest question that I ask, by the way. And everyone wants to give me a
Yeah.
bunch of answers, but I'm really looking for that one. And I want the one that impacted your mindset the most. So the one that when you read it, you started looking at growing your business or building your business in a whole nother way.
Yeah, I'll probably mention a very popular and common book, and think like your guests have told this many, many times in the past. It's Good to Great by Jim Collins. The book Good to Great is mind blowing. Oh my God. It changed my perspective on the business, on hiring, on building the team all together, getting the right people on the bus and let them drive the bus in the right direction, and then finding your superpower where like you can deliver a huge amount of value in a market that also gets you excited every day. So those ideas, I think I've read the book Good to Great by Jim Collins 4 5, I don't know how many times, so I read it many, many times, and every single time I read the book, I get like new gold nuggets from
Okay.
there.
So I haven't read that one, so that is on my list. Okay. So where can people find you on social media, Farhad?
Yeah, for sure. I am very active on LinkedIn. So if you want to like go to LinkedIn and search for Farhad Khan, you'll probably find only one from the company Member Lounge. My name is very common in South Asia, so there will be many Farhad Khans, but Farhad Khan with Member Lounge will be only one. And also at the same time, if you like what you hear today, also come to my podcast. It's the Member Lounge podcast. If you just search on Google, it'll come up. We are on YouTube on a number of different platforms. It's on our website as well. And if you are an association or if you have a member base you want to serve and build a community around, and you want to like grow your membership, check out our product. It's Member Lounge. It's memberlounge.app. Member Lounge, all one word. You can see a demo there. You can also book a meeting with me directly from there. And if you want to just chat, if you're a founder, if you're an entrepreneur, if you want to like bounce ideas, like shoot me a message on LinkedIn. I'm happy to chat. I actually like love talking to founders whenever I get a chance. So feel free to
Thank
shoot
you
me a
so
message.
much. Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us today. There was a lot of gold nuggets in this conversation with Farhad. I hope it was as enlightening and actionable for you as it was for me. But thanks for joining us today.